The philosophical foundation of education. Real people in the real world, and that's realism. But one thing's that there's a big question, and what is realism as one of the philosophies of education?
I am Edilberto Surio discussing realism.
For real? Yes, for real. Understanding realism. Realism is the doctrine that is associated with the study of the world we live in. It is a philosophy away from the world of ideas or spiritual things. In realism, the word real denotes actual or existing. It holds the view that knowledge acquired through our senses is true, and what we observe and perceive through our own senses is real and the true entity of the world. Realism says that physical world is subjective and factual, whereas personal feelings and desires are subjective and secondary. Thus, this philosophy is also known as objectivism. Aristotle is generally regarded as the father of realism. John Locke, Erasmus Ravilius, Comenius, Bertrand Russell, Francis Bacon, Milton are the chief protagonists of realism. With regards to the various aspects of realistic education, there are various aspects of education, such as the aims of education, the methods of teaching, the curriculum, the discipline, and the like, which are influenced by this realistic education. Realism and aims of education. Realism explains the aims of education in different perspectives. First is the preparation for a happy and successful life, wherein the first and most important aim of realistic education is to prepare learners for a happy and successful life. Second, preparation for practical life, wherein realism recommends preparing students for a real and practical life of material world which can be gained through senses. Third is the training of senses, wherein realism believes that the fullest development of personality can be possible through proper training of senses. So the learners will not have a proper knowledge about the material world unless their senses are trained and improved properly. Fourth is the developing of physical and mental powers, wherein the physical and mental powers are required for developing intelligence, discrimination, and judgments by which learners will be able to overcome the challenges of life. Fifth is the developing of vocational efficiency, wherein this type of realistic aim makes education craft-centric. Realism is in favor of developing vocational efficiency among learners so that they can prepare themselves for prevailing livelihood demands. Realism and the methods of teaching. Realism aims to prepare learners for real and practical life. It calls for teaching learning methodologies on the basis of subjects and interests of the learners. So the methods of teaching are as follows. First is the inductive method, second, deductive method, third, observation method, fourth, experimental method. Formally, these methods make use of our senses to observe and conserve knowledge present in the real world. Realism and the curriculum. Realism recommends the designing a curriculum for realistic education, which enables learners to solve different problems of life and to lead a happy and successful life. It prescribes to include science subjects such as physics, chemistry, biology, astrology, physiology. Further, realism recommends to study handicrafts, farming, etc. in the curriculum because it aims at preparing learners for practical life with respect of their livelihood. Realism and discipline. Realism stresses on a synthetic form of impressionistic and emancipatory discipline on the basis of natural and social procedures. Realism calls self-discipline for the learners by controlling their feelings, desires, and perform duties. Realism tells teachers to treat learners with affection and sympathy, and it allows considerable freedom to the learners so that moral and religious education in the curriculum are recommended. Realism and the teachers. Realism is in favor of training teachers before they involve in teaching. Realism believes that teachers should have a full knowledge of the subject matter, psychology of learners, and a scientific way of delivering education. The teachers must encourage the learners to observe and experiment the natural objects and phenomena so that learners will be able to find new facts with respect to the construction of knowledge. They should inform learners about the scientific discoveries, inventions, and researches in different fields of knowledge. That's all for today. I'm out.